Uh-oh. Now I have to mute my phone? Or I have to mute because I have a very important phone call. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me? I am back, but sometimes this doesn't unmute when I raise the volume. My cats decided to join for the show. Luke, Catwalker, and Skippy are here watching. Hi, kitties! If you're good kitties and Evelita says it's okay, then I can crochet some mice for you and you can watch me do it. But not today. But I can do it, and I will do it, but not today. But you have to be good kitties for that. Okay, so where were we? We were going down a list. So we went through the scissors, stitch markers. Stitch markers were also on the list of materials that you needed in order to participate in tonight's tutorial. And what you saw me doing while I was on the phone was digging around for all the different stitch marker types that I have. I wanted to show you all the ways they can look. So here you have like your standard like round hook. These are, I've seen these things everywhere. I don't like these things because they fall off. Okay, so you literally just hook it on like that, and it can and it will fall off. So, but if these are all you have for now, maybe put two of them together. I don't know. But these are stitch markers. They are considered stitch markers. Then there are, agree, those are garbage, trash them. Yeah, these are not good. Don't ever use these. Like, I don't even know why I still have these. Maybe so that I can show you what they look like. Maybe that was their purpose in life. Don't use those. Okay, I don't even know where I got these. Effective, but also extraordinarily sharp. Like, they're shaped like safety pins. They function like safety pins. And they are sharp like safety pins. But they are stitch markers. I don't even know where I got them from. Very sharp. They poke me all the time. I don't use them. That's bad. I don't want to be poked. I get poked enough by the crochet hook. I don't want to be poked by a stitch marker. So, if you come across these guys, not good. Very sharp. Now, these guys are very common. Very reliable. I'll show you why. I come in all different colors, so you can, like, if you wanted to write a letter on it so you know what hook size you're using for your project. Or you could mark your foundation chain every 10 stitches so you don't have to keep counting tens. You can just go 10, 20, right? You can put a stitch marker at the end of your project, your last stitch, and you can hook it like that, see? It's very secure. That is not coming undone. Maybe. If you pull it real hard, it will. Don't do that. But these are very secure. Very lightweight. It's not going to pull your stitches. These are reliable, nice stitch markers to use. Recommended. Now, I personally make my own stitch markers because they're pretty and they're functional. They're like little lever backs, and I don't have to worry about like manipulating the safety pin mechanism. Okay, for me that takes two hands. You can find these not only in my Etsy store, but also in other Etsy stores. You might be able to find them on Amazon. I have mine attached to a button pin, but they are little lever back, basically earrings. You can make your own little earrings and use them as stitch markers instead. Okay, and so what you do is you literally just open it, attach it to your project, and close it. Simple as that. Okay, very handy. Stitch markers are very handy. If you don't use them yet, get in the practice of using them. As you get into more advanced crochet, you will want to use stitch markers to mark your rounds, etc. You will learn, I promise. Use your stitch markers. It's kind of like your notepad. Use your notepad, don't rely on your brain. Okay, now, measuring tape. You need a measuring tape. Okay. You don't always need a measuring tape. It's good to have a measuring tape. Sometimes, if you're familiar with gauge, then you will measure how many stitches you have across. Abuelita says you have got to have them, referring to the stitch markers, if you're working in rounds. You might get away with not having them for rectangular things. This is true. This is true. If you're working in the round and like trying to make a hat and you don't have a stitch marker, you're probably going to end up increasing. It's going to make your hat kind of wonky. You don't want a wonky hat, right? No. Okay. So you want to use your stitch marker. So there are multiple types of tape measures. Okay. These are both crafting tape measures. There's also some metal measuring tools that measure gauge. Like, I don't know where they are. They're in this room somewhere. But you can use a regular tape measure. I got this one from Michael's several years ago. It doesn't roll up all the way anymore. There it goes. Or you can use one of these if you're measuring the body for garments, or if you're just like measuring gauge, like how many stitches are in 2 inches, which is what I'm looking at right now, right? Either way, it doesn't matter what kind of tape measure you use, as long as you have a tape measure that you can use. Make sure you know how to read a tape measure. That's very important. You would be surprised how many people don't. Okay. Yarn. So when you went shopping for your material list said pick up 1 skein of size 4 worsted weight yarn. And you were probably like, having never seen this before, what in the heck kind of language is this? What is a skein? How do I know what size 4 yarn is? What's worsted mean? I don't know. I don't understand any of this. Right? How am I going to find this if I don't know what I'm looking for? Well, you've seen yarn, right? Everybody's seen yarn. They walk through Walmart, they see the yarn aisle, they're like, oh, that yarn. Not very interesting. Well, for me, it's very. But that yarn has a lot of information, and there's a lot of different types of it. Okay, so I have a list here. I also have this on my hard drive. If you want a copy of it, you can send me a message. I will get it for you. There are 9 different yarn weights. Okay, and then each yarn weight has, I say recommended hook size. I say recommended hook size because I change my hook size to change my gauge, where other people change their tension to change their gauge. I just change my hook size. So this is the recommended hook size. I also like to take full-size items and crochet them in thread. That's a little more advanced. Don't do that yet. Alright. So I can get you a copy of this list, or you can screenshot it if you can see it. Here, let me get a little closer so you can see. There you go, if you want to screenshot that. I had finally understood what skeins are, then went to a specialty yarn shop and it was all Hanks. Yes. Okay. Abuelita, do you think I should go through the different types? Because I have all the different types in my room right now. Should I show those examples? Probably. I should probably do that. Okay. I'll go ahead and show you. So, It could be confusing, but I could try to make it very simple. It's all yarn. It's all yarn. Let's keep it simple. Okay? It's all yarn. Or wool, if you want to call it wool. If you're outside of the US, you could call it wool. It doesn't matter. It's all used for the same thing, to crochet or knit or do some other fiber art where you glue it to paper. I don't know. But it's for crafting. It's all the same thing. It's just packaged differently. And the different ways it's packaged has different names. In different ways you have to open them. And that could be kind of a pain in the butt if you don't have the right tools. So it's important to know, actually. Okay, so on the materials list, I suggested you pick up one skein. This is a skein. One skein of yarn. It comes in this, what shape is this? It's like round, but it's not round. Oval, conal, tube. Is this a tube? I don't know. Is this a tube? It's kind of like a tube. It's wound up from the inside. This is a skein. That's what it is. It's a skein. This is a skein of yarn. This is what it looks like. I don't know what shape it is. It's a skein. Okay. Now, what's next? I'll show you another skein, okay? Just because it looks a little different, but it's still a skein. You'll see the similarities. Okay, this is a skein of yarn. But do you see how small it is? It's still a skein. See how it's wound? In the center, it's spun, right? It's still shaped the same. It's still a skein of yarn. It's just smaller. Skeins can come in all different sizes, but they're all shaped the same, okay? Okay, so these are skeins. Now, we have oh goodness. Let me frame this one. This is retro. Okay, we have cakes. Now, this one is specifically called the Karen Cake because that's the brand. But it's called a Karen Cake. Karen is like the parent brand. They're the owners. And they literally named their yarn after how it was spun, like how it was packaged. It's packaged in a cake. Okay, see how that is? Karen cakes. They're literally cakes of yarn. This is called a cake. You cannot eat it. You could, but you might choke. Don't do that. So this is the cake. Now, there are other cakes that are not factory spun, like this. Okay, they're not factory packaged. Other cakes look like this. This is a cake. See how it has like the same kind of shape? Like if you poured icing on it, it could be a cinnabon. It's a cake. Okay? So we have skeins, we have cakes. Now, let's see. Hold on, I'm looking for a ball. I think I have one down here. No, that's not a ball. No, that's not a ball. Okay. This is a yarn ball. Quite literally, because it is round and is a ball. Usually people will take their yarn scraps from leftover projects at home and wrap it around and wrap it around and wrap it around until it creates a yarn ball. And that's how they store their scraps. Okay, some people just like to work off the yarn balls. Some people like to do that, so they just put them in yarn balls. They prefer them. But you need to know this is a yarn ball. Alright? So yarn balls. Then there are... This one is the tricky one. This is called a hank. Now, hanks are very cool looking, right? They're all twisty. They're usually more expensive. They're like nicer fibers. Really getting up there with this stuff. But if you do not have a swift, which is a tool that you, when you untwist this and lay it on top of your swift to keep it from twisting back up, all it's going to do is turn into a giant knot. So if you buy a hank, I would highly recommend buying it from a luxury yarn store where they have swifts and they will spin your hank into a cake for you. Okay? Don't try to do this at home without a swift. Don't do that. Unless you put it on the back of a chair and then you gotta walk around the chair. It's just very uncomfortable. It's not nice. Which is why this hasn't been used. I prefer to buy hanks. Put them on a swift and wind them with a winder into cakes and use the cakes in a yarn bowl. Yes, but if you do not have a swift, I don't have a swift. I'm feeling left out now, Abulita. I don't have a swift. I have a bunch of hanks and no swift. Maybe I should stop buying hanks and just buy a dang swift. Might be up there. I also don't own a yarn bowl. Somebody was really shocked the other day. I was crocheting on stream and they were like, "Whoa, where's your yarn bowl?" And I was like, "I've never owned one. Never owned a yarn bowl." Okay. Here's hanks. There's spools. Hold on. I'm making a mess now. So, this is a spool of cotton. I mentioned this earlier. It's a number 10 thread. Number 10 crochet thread. It's a spool. Inside there's a piece of cardboard. There's a spool in there. And also, one more. There are cones. Usually cotton. Typically cotton. Cotton comes on cones a lot. If you buy a lot of it, it comes on a cone. Alright, so you have skeins, hanks, balls, cakes, cones, and what was it called? What was this thing called again? Spools. Yes, spools. A lot of different names. Basically the same thing, it's just packaged differently. Or it's a different fiber. Or it's a different brand. It could be the same thing, just a different brand. They package it differently, call it a different thing. Okay? But it's all yarn. So that is a lesson in different types of packaged yarn. All different shapes and sizes. Lots of diversity here. Alright. Moving right along. Yarn labels. I mentioned I was going to teach you how to read a yarn label, and here it is. So, when you're picking out your yarn, and you're like, I don't know what all these numbers mean. Oh yeah, I saw that on my dry clean only stuff, yeah. Yeah, I've seen those labels before. I don't know what they mean. By the way, guys, I still don't know what those mean. I have to Google it. It's fine. It's totally fine. Then there's even more information that looks completely irrelevant. It's not. Oh, that's cool. There's a pattern in here, but then it's got a little temperature bar, I guess. I don't know. Not a temperature bar, guys. You've got a picture. And it's got some random numbers here. It's like how much is in there, I guess. So, instead of looking at yarn like this, how about we assess the situation and find out just how much information is actually on the packaging of a skein of yarn or a cake of yarn. Cakes of yarn also have that. I've noticed hanks have a little less information. And I don't think you'll ever see information on a ball of yarn. It's usually homemade. And cones do. Yeah, I think cones have that information. I haven't bought a cone in a long time. So, alright. So here you have, these are your gauge symbols. Okay? These still confuse me to this day. But basically it says, let's get a little closer. If you're looking at this one here, we're not looking at that. That's knitting needles. See that little X? That's not just an X. Those are like little knitting needles that are fighting each other. That's why we don't knit. We crochet, okay? We don't fight each other with knitting needles. That's not nice. We crochet. So look at the one with a little hook. See that little crochet hook? It's just like a little tapered hook, just like I showed you before. It's just a little crochet hook. This is talking about if you single crochet 12 stitches across, 12 single crochet across for 15 rows up, then you will get a 4 if you're using the right tension. You'll have a 4 inch by 4 inch square. If you use a USI 5.5 millimeter hook. If your tension is off, then you adjust your tension until you get this. And that is how gauge is read. It's kind of advanced. That's not really a basic skill. Don't worry about it right now. But just know that it's a thing. And if you crochet for a while, it will have to be addressed. But don't be afraid of it. It's fine. Okay. Yarn weight. It said size 4, worsted weight. I should have mentioned medium, but I didn't, because it's just called worsted. Size 4 is worsted. So, size 4. There are apparently 6 different numbers. I have all this in a PDF. So there's 6 different numbers that you could possibly find on yarn. Let's look at those. This skein is a number 4, or a medium. It's the thickness of the strand of yarn. Okay? It's thickness. It also determines what hook size you're going to use for it. So, and oftentimes it determines what kind of project you're going to do. So don't think it's a great idea to pick up a number 1 super fine yarn and crochet a napkin with it. That's going to take you a lifetime. Not fun. Not fun. I wouldn't recommend that. And then you have a number 2 is fine. And number 3 is my personal favorite. It's a light, also called DK. Then you have 4, which is medium. Your 4 is your worsted weight, your red heart, your like Karen Simply Soft, stuff like that. 5 is bulky, and 6 is super bulky. So there's different weights for your different yarns, and you can feel it. Okay, you can feel the different weights. All you gotta do is touch the yarn. You're like, oh well, this one's thinner than this one. It must be a different number, and it is. Most likely it is. Unless it's one of those medium, like in the middle kind of weights, and it's like kind of labeled. You're not really sure if it's labeled properly because it's almost another size. That happens. Be careful. Okay, so then the really confusing laundry instructions. So I Google this if ever I'm going to launder an item that I create, or if I'm going to sell an item that I create so that I can create a how to care for your product tag for said sold item. But I Google this every time because I'm not about to memorize all these labels. I'm just not going to do it. I have other things to memorize. Google has it for me. Okay. Now, there's more information on this game. That's the microwave safe icon, right? Yeah. It's the microwave safe, but it's the one where you can put the utensil in the microwave and it's still safe. That one. Okay, so here we've gone over the size, we've gone over the gauge, we've gone over these laundering things where we don't really know about. We can Google if we're interested. Now we're going to go over material type. This. It's just a barcode, right? Nope. That is not just a barcode. If you look right here, this says it's 100% acrylic, which means there's no wool in this. It may be called wool in some countries. There's no wool. It's acrylic. Okay, this is really great stuff for crocheting for babies because babies are known to have allergies. Not many people are allergic to acrylic because there's no animal content. It's just plastic. Don't tell people I told you that. But it could be something else. Like, what is this? Here's one that says 65% silk, 35% wool. Another reason why I haven't used it. Like, what am I going to make with this? I don't know. Made in England. It's really fancy and pretty. It's in a hank. What is this? 100% cotton. Also really great for crocheting. Amigurumi. Big word means crocheted creature. Could be human, could be animal. Crocheted creature. Okay, and then what is this one? See, now you gotta be careful. This one is 80% acrylic and 20% wool. So they all have different, well, they're not all different, but there's a lot of different types of yarn materials. Okay, and it's important to know what you're working with because it's important to know who's allergic to what. Are you allergic to it? Other than that, could be used to determine the functionality of the piece. Are you going to make a washcloth with wool when you're going to run it in hot water and then it's going to shrink? That's a bad idea. That's probably not a great idea. So probably pick acrylic or cotton for that one. Which you'll learn. You'll learn. There's different materials in different yarns. And you just read the label, okay? It's usually somewhere, it's got a percentage next to it. Let's see. Dye lot. Okay. So my mother is the one that taught me about dye lots. I know this is very information heavy, but it's so important. It's so important that you know this. Okay? So on this one, this is the dye lot right here. Not the 10016 teal. Can you read that? 10016 teal is the color in the color number. Different than the dye lot. So yarn is dyed in batches. Even for commercial yarn, like this is a commercial yarn, hence it says basic on the label. This is just commercial brand yarn, right? Run of the mill acrylic yarn. It's dyed in batches. And this batch number is 2019-53023, which means that if, say I'm crocheting an Afghan for a king size bed, okay, well, that means I'm going to want to purchase enough of these skeins, because I'm going to do it all in this color, hypothetically. You're going to want to get enough of this color, specifically, in this dye lot to complete that project. Highly recommend you do not buy 3 skeins here, 2 skeins there, 5 skeins from another store, because those dye lots might be different. So always know your dye lot before you purchase. And make sure that they all match. Because side by side, it might look okay. In a project, if there is a slight shade difference, you are going to notice it. Unless you're colorblind. God bless you. But you're going to notice it and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I bought the same colors. I don't understand why. Well, the reason why is the dye lot. They're done in batches and the batches turn out differently. Okay, so if you want to ensure that you have the correct color that you've been using or the correct color that you intend to use, match your dye lots. And it's usually a number like this. I'll show you some more. Abulita says, I've really messed up things with dye lot differences. Yeah, talk about articles of clothing. It's really fun when your blues don't match, or your blacks don't match, or your reds don't match, or God forbid it's navy blue and it's two different navy blues. You know what I mean? Like it can get ugly real quick in clothes. Real quick. Let's see if this has a dye lot. Here we go. Lot number. This one actually says lot number. So lot number 008203. So as long as I'm picking up skeins that have a lot number of 008203, or is that 20 or 2D? I don't know. As long as it matches and looks the same as that, then I know my colors are going to be the same. So start mixing dye lots, there's no guarantee. Okay? Dye lots are very, very important. Alright. So I think that's all there really is to know. Let me double check. Oh, yes. Okay. So this little label here, it still confuses me because this isn't a beginner pattern. Does that mean, Ebulita, does that mean it's not intermediate, right? It could be intermediate. Isn't it beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then what's after advanced? Super advanced? Probably shouldn't try this at home. Like, I really don't know. Yeah, it's a difficulty indicator, but like, I don't know what the 4 stages are. Like, I literally just don't know. First of all, they're hardly ever accurate. That is an opinion, okay? A complete opinion. Hardly ever accurate. But they're saying that this pattern, here, I guess, is included in here, and the difficulty of the pattern is 2 bars. We'll just call it 2 bars. Whatever that means. We'd probably try it at home, it'll be fine. We might mess up with YouTube things. Or get on Twitch and ask me and I'll help. Okay, what else is on here? Yards. So you got length and you got weight, right? You got yards and you got grams or ounces. This is incredibly important because when you're looking at patterns, it'll say, well, in order to complete this pattern for this sweater, you need 1,250 yards of XYZ yarn. This is where you come to find that information. Sometimes it will say you need 820 grams. I'm making up numbers now, but you see what I'm saying. This is where you come to find that information. So you need to know how long your piece of string is, in theory, because in theory, how long it is. And you need to know how heavy it is. Sometimes. I don't usually see that in the US. Is there anything else on this that's important? Nope, I think we got it all. I think that's it. I think that's how you read a skein of yarn, or any package of yarn. That's all the information there is. It's a lot of information. It's a lot to take in. But don't worry, you can rewind this later on my channel. Okay. So let's see, what time is it? 11:08. We are like right on time, actually, for the planned session, considering all things considered, considering the phone call I had to take, considering the first 10 minutes I was muted and I had to restart. We're right on time. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, okay, so the art of crochet. I actually wrote this and it's very well written, so I'm going to go ahead and read it to you, okay? Okay. So it says, the art of crochet. Crocheting may seem very daunting at first. You may look at a pattern or even a completed project and think, it must be so very complicated. And don't get me wrong, there are some very advanced crochet techniques out there that take a lot of time and patience to master. Fortunately for you, in this lesson, we are covering the basics. And the truth about crocheting is that there are only 4 basic stitches, 2 techniques, and 1 identifier you must know in order to get the ball rolling. The 4 stitches are the slip stitch, not to be confused with the slip knot, the chain stitch, single crochet, and double crochet. The 2 techniques you must know is the slip knot, again, not to be confused with the slip stitch, and what is called yarn over. There is also something called yarn under, but unless you're crocheting amigurumi, little crocheted animals, amigurumi, don't worry about yarn under. If you're yarn undering, you're doing it wrong at this point, okay? So yarn over. And the 1 identifier you must know is called a turning chain. So in order to set you up for complete and total success, which is my goal, okay, I'm going to be covering pattern reading. Actually, I changed the way I was going to do this whole lesson. I can cover pattern reading if you're interested in that tonight, but since you're probably watching this video later, we're not going to cover that. We're going to cover that in lesson 2. Abulita, do you know how to read a pattern? I mean, you wrote a pattern. Wait, you've got to know how to read a pattern. Does everybody who is watching know how to read a pattern? Actively watching. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Abulita says yes. Little smiley face emote. I love it. Love it, love it. Okay, so Pink is here. Hey, Pink. Pink, do you know how to read a pattern? You know how to read patterns, right? Because you like, or do you just like crochet crazy awesome bird nests out of your brain? Could do that. It's possible. I know people who do. Pink is here. Okay, well, we will cover pattern reading. Takes a minute to learn all the abbreviations. Abulita is saying this. After that, it's not bad. The graphical patterns are interesting too. This is true. A graphical pattern is called a diagram. And I actually, when I'm doing advanced crochet patterns, I prefer to read a diagram because the instructions written out end up being like a paragraph long. And at that point, I'm like, you lost me on sentence 2 of chapter 1, and really, I'm just trying to get through this essay. Just give me a damn picture. Okay? Just give me a picture, show me what to do. So diagrams are extremely helpful with advanced patterns because you can look at it, know exactly what you're supposed to do. You don't need all this 4 pages of written instructions you don't need all that. You may not be there yet, and that's okay. There are diagrams for single crochet as well, which I can show you, but not tonight. Okay, but this is important. This is important, so I will go over this real quick. I found that I learned, Adelita, I found that when I was learning how to read diagrams, first, when I was learning how to read when I was learning to crochet, I started to learn how to crochet by picking up a book, at which point I was forced to read a pattern that I didn't understand. I didn't know what an SLST was, or a CH. I'm like, what are these people even talking about? This doesn't make any sense. They're not even using whole words. How am I supposed to do this if they're not even going to use entire words? It's like I'm supposed to read this and just know what they're thinking. I'm not a mind reader. Luckily, when I started crocheting 14 years ago, YouTube was already a thing. Google was a thing. I don't know if YouTube was. I'm pretty sure it was, but I know that Google was a thing because I used the internet to like look up how to do a single crochet. And I would sit there and I would play and pause and play and pause, play and pause, rewind and play and pause until I got the motion of the hook, right? Because a 2D image in a book does not tell me how I'm supposed to rotate my hook. It just doesn't do it. It just doesn't do it. It can't do it. Even if it tried, it couldn't do it. So when I learned, I picked up a book I didn't understand and basically pulled the dictionary out for every word. And that's how I learned. Dictionary being Google, videos, and I learned. Okay, and then practice. And practice, practice, practice. Adelita says, I watch videos like this, YouTube at the time. Yes, you can watch videos. They're very, very instructional a lot of times. Unless they go really fast, and then you're like, next. Okay. So this is important only because these are the, I'll go over this again next week. Hold on a second. Pink? I hope this works. I wasn't saying like, hey, pink, I hope this works. I was saying pink marker. I hope it works. I haven't used it in a while. Oh, it's a highlighter. That's not fun. That's not what I was looking for. I wanted this one. Okay. New paper. That one's ruined. I'm so wasteful. New paper. I'll go back to that one when the book's full. Promise. Okay. Does this work? Yes. It looks just like the highlighter. Alright. So, there are abbreviations that you will see in patterns because you will look at something and you'll say, oh wow, how do I make this cute little hat? I would really like to make this for so-and-so, or for so-and-so, so-and-so, whoever, or myself. Sometimes you just gotta make things for yourself, okay? And they're like, well, what you're gonna do is that, or, oh, even better, here we go. I'm going to use these little abbreviations right here to tell you to do something. This isn't abbreviated. It's never abbreviated. I'm writing this out so you know, if you've never seen a pattern, this is what this is a scent marker. What the hell am I smelling? It doesn't, it smells like crap. That's what it smells like. Guys, this isn't good. It doesn't even tell me what it's supposed to, is this supposed to be like watermelon? This doesn't smell like watermelon, this is gross. Apples maybe? It's got watermelon and apples on it. I don't know. Okay. So, you also have, here, I'll write these big so you can see them. And then, I mentioned this one. And this one I mentioned. Okay, so this is the pattern. I just made up. I don't know what I'm making, I just made it up. It's very confusing right now, I know. That's why I'm here to explain it to you. So you're going to do a slip knot. In fact, I'm going to teach you how to do this pattern. It's really simple. You're going to start off with a slip knot. And then from your slip knot, you're going to CH6. CH means chain. It always means chain. CH will always mean chain. So chain 6. Okay? It's really simple to chain 6. I can teach you, don't worry. Then you have an SC in, there's missing a D. Second CH from hook. So because of the previous round, you know, you've already Googled, hi, I'm Google today. You've already Googled that CH means chain. It always means chain. So whatever SC is, you're supposed to SC in the second chain from the hook. That's great. Now I just got to figure out what SC is, right? Okay, well, hi, I'm Google. SC stands for single crochet. Okay, it's a little stitch, little one. Not many holes in it. It's pretty little. And it's also one of your basic stitches. I'm going to teach you. SC will always mean single crochet. Always. So you're going to single crochet in the second chain from hook. Well, why we're going, that's why, because, okay, so you have to build height. Never mind, I understand what I'm doing in this pattern. You're fine. You're fine. It's fine. Okay. So your next row, oh no, this is a continuation. I ran out of room because I'm using this giant scented marker. So you're going to single crochet SC, one in the previous row. SC stands for single crochet. So single crochet in each ST across. Wait a second, ST? What's ST mean? I'll give you a hint. STS is plural for ST. So if you know one, then you know both. It's stitch and stitches. Okay? I was thinking something terrible. Don't worry about it. We're not gonna go there. I was thinking something terrible. Okay, so you have single crochet in each stitch across. There's that CH again. You're gonna find CH a lot in patterns. As long as you remember that CH always means chain, and chain is super easy. I mean, you're gonna have chain down tonight, I promise. Okay, you're gonna have chain down, it's so easy. So you're gonna chain 1 and then turn. Whenever you see a comma, that's like the end of that step. So you chain 1, step over, turn your work, which means I always turn mine to the left. And to be honest, it doesn't matter if you are turning to the left, which I'm going to show you. It doesn't matter if you turn to the left or you turn to the right. Just make sure you do it the same every time. And you'll be fine. As long as you turn it the same way every time, you'll be fine. You start flipping it back and forth, it's going to get a little wonky. We don't like wonky. Okay, so the two identifiers that I mentioned in my sweet little paragraph, YO, yo, yarn over. Okay, so when you get to your next row and you're like, and you're like, I'm gonna do this double crochet, but I got my hook in there. I don't know what to do now. You yarn over and you pull through. Okay, a yarn over is almost always followed by a pull through. unless it's like yarn over 3 times. And then you're doing a treble. It's a whole other thing. We're not at that level yet. Don't worry about it. Okay? If you see yarn over twice, yarn over 3 times, it's probably a little more advanced, but you can always Google it and try. Don't ever say you can't do something. Just Google it and try. You're good. Okay, so YO means yarn over, typically followed by pull through, which means pull through the loop. I'm going to show you. Don't worry. I'm just reviewing these. So when I say them, it sounds a little more familiar when I'm instructing you what to do. Okay? Then you have TC. Like what? If I didn't crochet, there is absolutely no way that I would assume TC stood for turning chain. No way. I'd be like, is it like short for tacos? We're just missing some letters? I don't know. Like, I would really, like, not associate that with turning chain. Because what the heck is a turning chain? Well, in basic crochet, or beginner crochet, turning chain is a set of stitches that you make in order to reach the height of the next row. And you turn your work, and then you continue along, and it keeps your height even so that you don't like end up wonky. And we don't like wonky. So that's your turning chain. I say in beginner because in more advanced crochet, there's other stitches that you can do to avoid ever doing a turning chain. Because turning chains aren't pretty. They're just a matter of fact. Okay? And then you have a slip stitch. I just gave it away. Ah, surprise! You win this one. Okay, so SLST is a slip stitch. A slip stitch is used to join 2 loops, or 2 stitches, or 2 rows, or 3. Doesn't matter. Slip stitch is a joining stitch. Okay? It's very simple. I can show you. Once you start showing you all these, you're going to have to review them because it's a lot of information. It's easy to get them confused. Okay? But I'll show you. Slip stitch is easy. It's just easy to forget as well. Okay? That's what I've noticed when I'm teaching people. Slip stitch is easy to forget. Because it's so simple. You're busy doing more complicated stitching, and all of a sudden it's like slip stitching. You're like, wait a second. What? You forget. It's okay. It's alright. Everybody forgets. I have to drink. I'm dying. No, I'm not dying. There was a house fire. 3 or 4 days ago. And I've been doing this whole video with a sore throat from the smoke inhalation. I'm okay though. I'm not really dying. That was an exaggeration. But my throat is killing me now that I cough like that. Hold on. I'm going to eat a cough drop. We're almost done. And then I'm going to show you the stitches. Just the basic stitches I'm going to show you. After I get this cough drop in my mouth. Hold on. Adelita says half double crochet, back post double crochet, and front post double crochet. Those confused me at first. Yes, because you have to know the anatomy of the stitch in order to create a back post or a front post, anything. You have to know the anatomy of the stitch. So those aren't basic stitches. A half double crochet. Half double crochet. It's not really basic. It's not a stitch that you need to know in order to complete other stitches. It is its own stitch. That is the reason why I have the slip stitch, the chain stitch, single crochet, and the double crochet as your basic stitches. Because as long as you know those 4 stitches, you are set to learn more advanced stitches. Because those 4 stitches are used to create more complicated patterns. They're just combined differently. Okay, same stitches, just combined differently to give it a different look. Okay, so HDC. Hello, I'm Google. Half double crochet. Half double crochet. So what's DC? Well, this stands for half double crochet. And DC, safe to assume, probably wouldn't assume, but safe to assume, DC stands for double crochet, and you would be correct. They're basically just height differences in the stitches. Say this is a single crochet, then that's a half double crochet, and that's a double crochet. And there's something even more complicated, which we're not going to get into because it's not a basic stitch. But I'll tell you about it so you know later it's a thing. Treble crochet, which is much taller, mainly used for cables. Okay, so now that we've gone over all those really confusing abbreviations, we're almost through crochet 101. End of story. So there are many, many, many more stitches that have abbreviations. In fact, every stitch in crochet has an abbreviation. Some abbreviations are like 7 letters long. Gotta break those down a little bit in order to understand them. Because it's basically just a bunch of little abbreviations all compiled together to create a complicated pattern. It takes a little bit of practice in order to read that and understand what you're looking at. But it will come in time. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and grab our yarn and practice, learn how to execute the basic stitches we just talked about. Okay? All right. So that I don't forget which stitch we're doing and which stitch we need to do, I'm going to go ahead and write the stitches down. You're going to start with a chain stitch. No, we're not. I lied. We are going to start with a slip knot. Not to be confused with the band that's kind of a little crazy black and white. I don't know. Not my genre, not my thing. Really not for me. Not to be confused with the band. Not to be confused with the stitch. Slip stitch, slip knot, 2 different things. Okay? Not abbreviated, just slip knot. Alright? So let's practice slip knot and then chain. And then, once we've learned slip knot and chain, then I will teach you single crochet. And I'm pretty sure this plan I have here does not take you past single crochet tonight. And the reason why is because doing these things incorrectly can leave your project wonky. And nobody likes wonky. Make a wonky project, don't want to give it away. Make them want the project, don't want to lay it around the house. Just kind of want to hide it a little bit. Because it's kind of wonky. Nobody likes wonky. So I'm going to perfect slip knot, chain stitch, and single crochet. And I'm going to teach you how. Okay? They're very important. Very important. The basic stitches, extremely important. You use them in almost every project. Okay? Very important. So, oh, here's more tapestry needles. Lots of them. Alright, so I'm going to grab my yarn. Now, I kind of quickly showed earlier how to do a slip stitch. I'm going to do that again. It's very simple, and I will go slowly. If anybody watching is not a crocheter and you have questions, then I will be more than happy to help you and go even more slowly. If anything I have said is confusing so far, crocheters, please let me know so I can either elaborate or correct it. This is my first time teaching a lesson. I'm probably a little mouthy. Sorry. Okay. So, we're going to learn how to slip knot. A slip knot is a knot that slips. Literally, a knot that slips. If your knot does not slip, you have not completed a slip knot. Very simple. I'm going to show you how to do it. When I was new, I was confused about pulling from center skein and not from outside. You know what? That is a great point. How about before we do center skein, or before we do slip knot, let me grab a brand new skein and show the difference. Because this one's a center pull, but I set it up previously as a center pull. Because it's a little messy. It's a little inappropriate, if you get me a drift. Hold on, guys. Okay. So, we use these. You can't use that one. I would use these. Because they're cheap, and if I get annoyed with them, I can throw them away. Okay? They're cheap. They're from the dollar store. Okay. Although some lady, sold them to me as if they were not from the dollar store. I was like, honey, I know where this yarn came from. Give me my money back. Or take your yarn, both. I don't care. It is dollar store yarn. It's actually not bad yarn for dollar store yarn. Dollar Tree, not dollar store. Okay, so when you have a skein, or a cake, or anything really, other than a hank, or a ball, you can either pull your yarn, or take your working yarn from the outside of the skein. Alright, so you would probably just take the label off. Alright, we're already messy. We've taken the label off. This is going to get lost. We're not going to know what we're working with. How are we supposed to get more? This is a terrible thing to happen. We've just lost our label. It's not that dramatic. I was just being dramatic. Okay. That's really fine. If you bought enough to begin with, you should be fine. So I'm looking for the outside of the tail on the outside of this yarn. What I have found is that the tail, if you can't find it, it's because it is tucked in the inside of one of the ends. Okay, so pull that out. And that is working from the outside of your skein. Now, there's no reason why you can't do this. There's a pretty good reason why you shouldn't do this. Alright? So, I'm crocheting, and as you can see, my yarn is like flipping all around, flipping all around, flipping all around. And eventually it's going to fall on the floor. I have to stop what I'm doing, go chase my yarn down, or my dog's going to pick it up and run away with it, or a cat's going to go lay on it. I don't have any cats. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's going to get dirty. It's going to flop around. It's all awkward. It ruins your tension because your yarn's jerking all around, which means in your hand, when it's coming off of your hand, it's all jerking all around. It's just not good. This is not a good way to make your crochet projects look pretty. This is amateur. We don't do this. Okay, I'm teaching you the basics, but as Abby Lita said, this is also very important. He was confused, or she was confused about this. We don't need to be confused about this. This is an amateur. Don't pull from the outside. Okay? We're going to be pros. Setting you up for success, baby. Now, this is where it gets a little inappropriate. Actually, a lot inappropriate. It's like very uncomfortable at first, but you do get used to it. Sometimes you go into your craft room and you do this like alone. Especially if you have teenage boys around and they're just really, you know, like, you'll see. Okay. So, there's something called center pulling. And this here is a center pull skein. Okay? It's only a center pull skein like this because I set it up previously as a center pull skein. I did what I'm about to do to this skein before this video, so I didn't make a huge mess. And I'm about to make a huge mess anyway. Sometimes you get lucky and you don't make a mess. This is center pull skein. Now, when I pull yarn from this, it's very smooth. My skein does not move around. Nothing's going crazy. It's very, very smooth. My tension, spot on. My stitches are neat and tight and pretty. Very nice. Center pull. Okay? That's pro. That's what you want to do. Right, Abelita? Let me teach you how to get a center pull skein. You're like, well, how am I supposed to get the center out of this? This doesn't make any damn sense. Looks like it's wound from the outside. I don't understand. Well, I'm going to show you. It's not easy. Sometimes it is. But if it is, it's like... Okay, so what you want to do, this is what I do. I am taking my fingers and opening up that center. Okay, the wider I can get that, very inappropriate. The wider I can get that, the easier it might be to find my center. See that little nest in there? My center's in that nest somewhere. You can look for it. You kind of tug a little. I try to go for the very, very center of that nest and just pull. It ain't working. Okay, this isn't working. What else can we do? You can always try the other side. Adelita says spot on. I center pull skeins, but outer pull cakes when I use the yarn bowl because the bowl maintains tension and holds the cake in place. See? So, like, if you are opening that up and you are looking all around and this skeins junk and you ain't finding an end, flip it over. Try again. This isn't always going to work, but I'm showing you how to do this, okay? Does not always work. Sometimes you just end up with what's called yarn barf. And it is literally called yarn barf, okay? I cannot make this up. So, open it up wide. It's kind of disgusting, actually. Reach down in there. Well, I ended up with yarn barf. Oh, but look! What is that? What is that right there? It's the end. See? It was on the other side. Okay, so now you have the end. This is what I do. You may not be able to afford what I actually do. I cut the yarn barf off, move on, and throw it away. Because I don't have time for this. Unless it's really expensive yarn. And then I keep it and use it. And I do this. So you're just literally holding it and unwinding it like this. And then, once you've done that, make sure your outside piece is not still inside the skein. Just kind of tuck it underneath. So you don't want it to get tangled in your working yarn. Now you have all this. Find, oh my gosh. See what I mean? It just makes a mess. Like, what are you supposed to do with this? Okay, here's my end. Make sure it's not all knotted up. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. There we go. We've got our end. And it's now a center pull skein. Once I work through all of this barf, then this yarn, or working yarn, will pull from the center of the skein. And voila! Pro. Seems a little messy, but it's true. This is how you do it. There's no easier, softer way. Like, you just got to do it, okay? Some things you're just never going to be ready for. Just going to reach in. Okay. So, now that we've done that, we can get back to our slip knot. I'm not going to use yellow. Yellow is hard to see. And I'm using a gold hook. So that's why I picked teal. So you can see what I'm doing. Now, let us... I tried to shove it all back in there once. That didn't go well. Yeah, don't shove your yarn back inside your skein. It gets really knotted that way. And you end up messing up the rounds inside the skein. If that's not a good idea. And if you need to, you can wrap it on something else, or you can wrap it around the outside of the skein until you're ready to use it. Let me see. I'm going to go, while we're doing this, I'm going to zoom in this camera. I'm going to get uncomfortably close. Let us get uncomfortably close, shall we? Oof, that is close. Yep. Oh, look at those nails. I need to get them done. Look at how I got stabbed so many times today. Okay. So we are now uncomfortably close. So, we're going to work on our slip knot. Okay, so in order to slip knot, you now know how to center pull your yarn. Hopefully you have paused this video and done that. If not, now is your opportunity, because you'll need your yarn that you purchased or borrowed specifically for this video. Or you didn't, I don't know. Anyway, you need your yarn. Okay, so it's gonna be nice if, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna shut up about that. Okay, slip knot. In order to do a slip knot, super, super easy. It can be not easy if you make it not easy. Okay. I'll show you the right way to do it, and I'm going to show you the wrong way to do it. So when you're doing it the wrong way, you can be like, why is it so hard? Oh, because I'm doing it the wrong way. Okay? Alright. You probably don't sound like that. You're probably very intellectual. Like, smart. I'm sorry. Okay. So, right way to do a slip knot. You remember, this is your tail. We went over this before. You have your tail. And then the yarn heading to the skein is your working yarn. So you're going to take your tail, just pick it up, pick up your tail, put 2 fingers out like you're going to hold a bird, and put your tail over your 2 fingers. Okay, now take your thumb and pinch down here on your middle finger. I don't know why we're pinching on our middle finger yet, but it's just what I do, so I'm going to trust the process. Thumb, middle finger, pinch the yarn. Pinch. Okay? Now you can hold it up straight like this. So now, with your other hand, you're going to grab your working yarn Okay, the yarn headed towards the skein is your working yarn. You're gonna grab this, and you're gonna wrap it under. So you're already down. You're already down here, underneath. See? Just wrap it under, and bring it up on this side of your thumb. Do not cross your thumb over here like this. That's no bueno. Okay? Nice and neat up here. Okay? Once you're here, then make an X. And you can lay it down like that. So now you're holding a little bird right here. Okay? I'm going to do that again. So you have your working yarn down here. You're going to bring it under and up towards your pointer finger, your index finger. Make a little X right there so you can see it. Little X. And lay it across the back side. So it's crossed over. You're laying side by side like this. It's very nice and neat. Now what? Okay. I'm not used to working with this zoom. Okay, take your crochet hook. Hold it however you need to hold it in order to get comfortable. You're going to rotate this down so that little hook is facing the table or the floor or whatever is below it. Okay? Now, you take this hook, the reason why it is face down, you'll see, and the reason why you use 2 fingers is so that you can slide your hook in between 2 fingers. If you try to go over here, your yarn is going to move. It's going to get frustrating and annoying, and it's going to give you problems. Ride that little crack between the 2 fingers. Okay, guys? So take your hook, go under the first strand, and then lift up and go over the second strand. Now pull it down and through. Then once it's through, leaving your hook in that little hole, in that little loop, you just take it off of your fingers, but don't lose that loop. Okay? Use that loop to pull it off of your fingers. Then you tighten it down. It's a really messy slip knot right now, but don't worry, never fear. See, it slips. It slips and it's a knot. It's a slip knot. Whoa! Alright, so I'm going to do that again. In order to get a slip knot out, pull it. Comes right out. Okay, so I was reading messages again that I've already read. Okay, so 2 fingers, remember. Here is our yarn. This one is going towards the skein. So this is our working yarn. And this is our tail. It's not going towards the skein. It's going somewhere else. It's a tail. It's going to come towards us. So we are going to pick up our tail. Put 2 fingers out. Take our tail. And lay it over our 2 fingers. Whoa, curly Q. Okay, so we lay it over our 2 fingers. Now, when it's chilling, with our tail hanging on our 2 fingers, you take, you pinch. Thumb to middle finger, pinch. Hold it in place. It's very secure. Now you take your working yarn. Remember, it's already down, so just bring it under. Bring it nice and neat side by side until you get to the top. Make an X. And then lay it down. Just let it hang out there. Now take your hook. Go under. Lift up. Go over. Pull it through. Take your fingers out. Okay? I hope that that was very clear. I hope that I did not make that confusing. I typically do that so fast I don't think about it, so I had to think about it in order to explain it to you. Oh, thanks for the follow, Fungi. So then you have your tail, okay, and you have your working yarn. Remember, do not crochet with your tail. Bad things will happen, you will run out of yarn. It's going to happen though. You're going to do it. It's an accident. You're going to do it. I do it all the time, especially when I'm tired. I crochet with my tail. Okay, so that's our slip knot. I'm going to do it one more time, but I'm going to do it a little faster. Okay, now that you've seen me do it twice, and hopefully you've done it twice, I'm going to do it a little faster. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you just do it. Okay, so I'm going to pick this up. Now it's in my hand. See? Slip knot. And it gets easier and easier and easier. So if you need to rewind the video and practice your slip knot some more, feel free. They're easy to pull out. You're not wasting any yarn. Make as many slip knots as your heart desires. One thing you need to know about the slip knot though, I forgot to mention this. Let's make a little slip knot real quick. Knot that slips. It's a slip knot. Okay. See how I tightened it? There's kind of like, see that little hole down there? It's hard to see, but there's like definitely a hole in that little loop. Let me show you the difference. No hole. Bad. Too tight. No bueno. Do it again. Or loosen it. Give some breathing room, guys. Oh my gosh, that's too tight. Take it out. Just take it out. It's way too tight. You're gonna choke your little hook. You can't do that. The crochet hook literally cannot get through a slip knot that tight. So, in order to have a slip knot that you can utilize for the next stage, you need to leave a little hole. Okay, make sure that your hook, when turned down, can slide through it. If your hook, when turned down, does not slide through neatly, it shouldn't be too big, but it shouldn't be too small either. Okay? Shouldn't be a struggle, but you shouldn't be like flying through with your arms wide open. It should be just perfect. Okay? That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. That's your slip knot. So once you have the slip knot, then your next step from a slip knot is to chain. There's really not much else you can do from a slip knot other than chain. Chain is CH, remember? CH will always mean chain. Now, may not be telling you to chain when you read it. It may be saying to do something in a specific chain, like single crochet in a specific chain. Could be saying that, so pay attention. Okay, so we have our slip knot. You've practiced, you've rewind, you've done it again and again and again. You have your little loop. You know it's just the right size because you're not choking your hook. It can slide right out if it wants to and go right back in. That's what we want. Turns out my magic ring is just working a ton slip knot. Working into slip knot, which is also my amazing magic ring. It's just a slip knot, but without the knot. Okay, so in order to chain, remember your tail. See the tail? Leave it down here somewhere behind you. Grab your working yarn. Okay, so you have your working yarn in your hand. You have your crochet hook, however you want to hold it. This is how I hold my gear. This is my setup, okay? I got my slinger on one end, my other slinger on the other end. This is how I roll, just like this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my finger on this loop. The reason I place my finger on this loop is to keep it still. I don't want it to go flying all around. You'll see, okay? So, without my finger on that hook, this is what happens. See how it spun around? How am I supposed to do anything with that? That's not good. So if I put my finger on the hook, right there on that loop, and then I yarn over, that's a yarn over, you literally take the yarn over the hook. Yarn over. So easy. That's Y-O. Yo, yarn over. Okay? Now that you're stabilizing your stitch, your slip knot, and you've yarned over, now what do you do? Remember when I said yarn over is usually followed by a pull through. So you pull through. What are you going to pull through? Well, the loop, the slip knot on the hook, because you're making a chain. So it's easier to roll your hook under like this, roll it down, and slide it through like that. And you've created your first chain. Now, this may look like 2 chains, but when you're counting chains, you never, ever, ever count the loop on your hook. That's not a chain. Okay? That's your working yarn. So, if I was going to do this again, make a chain, what am I going to do? Hold this down here, stabilize, right? Stabilize my little loop, yarn over. Now you need to hold this, okay? You need to hold it. If you don't hold it, it's going to be hard to pull through that loop. It's going to be real hard because it's going to wiggle. Okay? So, stabilize, yarn over, give it a little pinch, turn it down, pull through. And you just keep practicing that. And that is a chain stitch. Okay? So, put your finger here to hold it still. Yarn over. Put your finger here to hold it still. Turn it down. Pull it through. Okay? Now, this is how it would be written. Yarn over, pull through. That's all you're going to get in a written pattern. That's why you look up YouTube videos. You go yarn over and pull through what? You're not telling me anything. I understand. Trust me when I say I understand. Yarn over, pull through. Okay? So we have, remember this one doesn't count, and if you've been doing this along with me, then we have the same amount. If not, feel free to catch up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't count this one. So we have 5 stitches. What I'm doing is I'm counting these little loops. Okay? I'm counting little loops. So we have 5. I'm going to yarn over, turn it down, pull through. 6. Yarn over, turn it down, pull through. That's 7. Yarn over, oh my goodness. Turn it down, pull it through. That's 8. Yarn over, turn it down, pull through. That's 9. We're going to do two more. It's 11. So yarn over, turn it down, pull it through. It's 10. Then yarn over, turn it down, pull it through. That's 11. So if you were to count these stitches, these chain stitches on your hook, this is considered on your hook, okay? Do not get confused with this one over here that's actually on your hook. Don't ever count that one. When you counted the top bump, can you see those little bumps now? If I hold it like that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I can't reach, 8, oops, 9, 10, 11. There, I made it reach. So you have 11 chain stitches. Okay? And you can keep practicing chain stitches. You don't have to move on to anything. If you're still not comfortable with chain stitches, if your chain stitches are not uniform, like this, they need to be tight and pretty. If for some reason your chain stitches are really big, which if it is, don't be embarrassed. Almost every crocheter I've ever taught starts out with extremely large stitches. Okay? It will come, it will be better. You just have to keep practicing. Just take it out and redo it. It's fine. So if your chain stitches look something like this, you got this big one over here, and they're really big, take them out, redo it, practice. Don't move on from the chain stitch until your chain stitches are uniform. Okay? I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying to set you up for success. Make sure they are uniform before you move on. Okay? So, unless you really just don't care. This is awesome, so relaxing. Thank you, Fungi. I'm trying to do my best to teach. I've never streamed crochet teaching. I've taught crochet, I've just never streamed it before. So, okay. So, maybe you've gone off and gotten frustrated and sat down in a corner and you practiced and you practiced and you practiced and you ripped out your stitches, and that's called frogging, by the way. And you just ripped them out and restarted and ripped them out, and you know what, you got tired of ripping them out, so you cut them off, and then you're back. But you know what, you came back with uniform stitches, and I'm proud of you. So now that you have your uniform stitches, we're going to go to our single crochet. Remember, SC stands for single crochet. Single because you don't yarn over. There is no yarn over. You're not making a double or a half double. It's just a single. No yarn over. Very confusing lesson right here. Sorry about that. Okay. We didn't even talk about double and half double. We're not learning those tonight. Okay. So, you have your chain stitches. There are some things about your chain stitches that you need to know. That if you had not come back with uniform little stitches, you would not be able to see this. So important for your stitches to be pretty, even in the basics. And Fungi says, I didn't have any plans to begin crochet ever, but you've convinced me I need to try this in my life. Well, thank you. I hope that you do try it, and I hope that you tune in next Friday for a review of the basics and how to read patterns. Even though we kind of went over that tonight. I don't know what I'm going to do next week now. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, okay? We'll figure it out. Okay, so let me teach you about the anatomy of your chain stitch. Okay. You have, if you hold it like this, okay, like this, it's where you can see this little bump down here. It looks kind of flat. It's quite relaxing. I'm a software engineer by trade. It is nice to create things without bits and bytes. Yes, that is true. Okay, So we have it. It looks flat like this. This is what it looks like if you were to turn it towards you. Now that flat piece is facing up. You're looking at the side of it. Okay. Hold it in your hand like this. When it comes to a chain stitch, other crocheters correct me if I'm wrong. This loop right here, let me grab a stitch marker so I can point to it. Okay. Oh, perfect, a bent one. This loop right here, this one. See it? That is your top. That's a top loop, I believe, on a chain. And then you have a bottom loop. Because it's not front and back. It's a top and a bottom. Because when you work into it on its side like this. That flat part is facing you. Here's your top loop. This is your anatomy of your chain. Top loop, right here. Okay? Now, the only reason why you use the bottom, I think, the only reason I can think of, is if you were crocheting a rectangle, I want you to be crocheting into the other side of this. Also, not basic, not beginner. We'll worry about that another night. Okay? But that is a stitch that can be used. It's just not a stitch that you're going to use right now. Okay. The other one that you must be aware of if you're going to be a pro. Remember, set you up for success. If you're going to be a pro, you need to know about the back bump or the back ridge. I prefer the back bump because, you know, I mean, that just sounds cool. Like, I crochet into the back bump, yo. Yarn over. That was lame. That was so lame, but it was funny. Anyway, all right, I need more coffee. Okay, so back bump. You can crochet into here, and when making some projects, it is highly recommended that you crochet into here. It's more advanced technique. It's not a basic technique, but there will be some patterns that say crochet into the back bump of your foundation chain. At which point you will know. You're like, oh yeah, that back bump, yarn over, bro. Exactly, back bump. Okay. All right. You need to know that. Anatomy of foundation chain stitch. So your chain stitches become a foundation chain when you start crocheting into them to create something else, because it's a chain stitch and it's the foundation of your project, so it's a foundation chain. Sometimes you'll have a foundation half double crochet. It's completely different and very confusing for beginners. Don't Google that just yet, okay? Just trying to protect you. So we're getting to our single crochet. We know our anatomy. Now, our hooks come out. What do we do? Oh no, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna take my hook and I'm gonna stick it right back in there. But I'm gonna pretend like I was making more chains so that I know my hook goes in this way. Okay? Don't stick your hook in this way, because then you can get twisted and get all wonky, and nobody likes wonky. Straighten it back out, stick your hook in this way. Tighten that little loop back down so it's nice and neat, not too big, not too small. You don't want to choke it, it's fine. Okay, now, in order to single crochet, you have to chain one, which you kind of already did. I kind of already told you to do that when I told you to chain 11. We'll go ahead and do it anyway. So remember, yarn over, pull through, chain one, Now, you proceed to single crochet into the second chain from the hook. Well, that's nice if you knew what a single crochet was. Alright, this is what you do. Alright, so you count to your second chain from your hook. I already told you. Check this out, look at it. This one doesn't count because this one's on your hook. So you count your bumps up here. 1, 2. Okay, little loop tops. Okay, 1, 2. So you're going to single crochet into that one. How do you do that? Let me show you. Remember, put that in right. Count 1, 2. Make sure you know where your stitch is. Mark it with your hand, okay? Pinch it with your little finger. When you single crochet, it's a beautiful stitch. Absolutely stunningly beautiful single crochet stitch. Isn't really like anything other than a single crochet stitch. It's very clean. It's got very little holes in it. It's functional. It's versatile. You can do pretty much anything with it. Single crochet is one of your basic stitches. It's very important for creating other more complicated patterns. So, if you loop on your hook, you know where your hole is, where you're going to go. You're going to go into the top loop. The anatomy, remember, you're going to go to the top loop here. And you got your working yarn behind you. You don't have to worry about your tail anymore because your tail is officially your project. Okay, so you have this hook facing you. Just like turn it to where if it had a face on it, it was looking at you. Okay? If that crochet hook had a face, it'd be staring dead at you right now. Like, what are you gonna do? Huh? What are you gonna do about it? You're gonna single crochet. You're going to bend it over, like bend down so it's parallel with your. Is it parallel? Frick, I'm old. Okay, just lay it down so it's going the same direction, guys. Okay? Now, insert your hook. Now, in order to insert your hook, you're going to use the tip of that hook. Okay? You're going to use that little point. Point it in the direction of the space underneath that loop. Okay? So, insert your hook. See, now it's laying down sideways. And the reason I told you to lay it down sideways is because you have to yarn over. Luckily for you, your yarn is already there. So you just grab it. But in the event that you were holding it some other way, you take, after you insert your hook into your stitch, you take your working yarn, put it over your hook like this. Okay? Now, make sure it doesn't get all wonky. Rotate it down. Show your face. It's facing the floor, or the desk, or whatever. What happens after you yarn over? You pull through. Pull through 1. Okay, so yarn over, pull through 1. Now, you have 2 loops on your hook. 1, 2. Very nice, very neat. Yarn over. Uh-oh. Pull through. Pull through 2. And that's how you do a single crochet. So, let's do that without all the fun and games, all the drama. Let's do that without all the drama. Okay, so I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull through. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull through 2. Again, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, Insert your hook. This is called practice, guys. Years and years and years of practice. You do this over and over and over again. That's what you have to look forward to with crochet. The same stitches over and over and over again. Creating new and exciting patterns. Actually, that's basically all crochet is. You use the same stitches put together in different combinations to create different patterns, but it's the same dang stitches, just put in different holes. So when I tell you I'm teaching you the basics to set you up for success, that's exactly what I mean. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert your hook. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm getting so silly. Insert your hook. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. That's literally your single crochet. And if you look behind you, hold on, let's finish out this row. So we're so close to finishing our very first row. Oh my gosh, I am so proud of you. When you do this the first time, you're probably gonna make something shaped like a triangle. When you're trying to make a rectangle, just expect it'll be wrong until you figure out starting and finishing rows. We're gonna cover that. Set them up for success. Okay. So, now, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, I want you to look at this before we stitch into any of these. Okay? Looking at this, right here, how many chains do you see? I'll give you a hint. It's not 3. There's more than 1, less than 3. It's kind of confusing, right? Because if you're counting your loops, and you see 1, 2, and there's a little one right there. We should get that one too, right? Nope. That's your back bump. That is your back bump, bro. Leave it alone. Don't mess with your back bump. Okay? Most new crocheters, when they are working into their foundation chain, count that little thing back there. That is a back bump of your very first chain stitch. And yeah, don't ever count the slip knot. This knot, don't count. This bump of your first chain stitch, don't count. Okay? What ends up happening is increase. It's called increasing when you add stitches that aren't supposed to be there, or are supposed to be there because you're intentionally increasing. Most new crocheters are not intentionally increasing, and it starts to look a little wonky. And what happens with wonky? We don't like wonky. This is what it starts to look like. Starts off here, very nice. And what you're aiming for is, let's use this one. This is what you're aiming for. Nice, straight, whatever it is. Washcloth. Okay, nice straight washcloth. What new crocheters end up with is that. And they can't figure out, oh my gosh, what do I do? Or they end up with one side going out and the other side going in. And they can't figure out why. It's because it's those stitches at the very beginning and the very end of your row that you were either missing or you were picking up an extra one. Okay? So you have to be very careful about your stitches at the very beginning of your row and at the very end of your row. I'm going to show you how. Okay, how to not do this as a beginner. We're going to make you a pro. Nobody ever taught me this. I made wonky stuff for a lot of years. A lot of years. Okay, so we know now that if there's more than one and less than three, there must be two. There are two more stitches here. We are not going to touch that back bump. We're going to leave that row alone, okay? Leave it alone. So, back to single crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through too. Next one, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through two. Okay, now we're going to leave the back bump alone. We're going to look at our little project. Wow, that is looking nice. Look at our first little row. Oh my gosh. And because you came back to me with a beautifully uniform chain stitch, your single crochet row doesn't look that bad, does it? You probably totally did not just come back to me with a beautiful uniform chain stitch. You just fast forward to that and just went on to the next section. It's okay. I would have done that too. Alright, so in order to get to the next row and do another row of single crochet, because that's ultimately what we want to do, we want to keep building up. Okay? This is called a row. This is called a stitch. This is called a row. Alright? So, anatomy time. Hold on, before we go on to the next one, the next row, I want to show you. Okay, now, the anatomy of your single crochet and the anatomy of any other stitch besides your chain or your foundation chain, your chain stitch, just like what I'm going to show you. But the foundation chain and the single crochet and every other stitch are different. Okay, they have a little bit different names. There's no back bump. See, no back bump. Alright, so let's go ahead, actually, so we can see looking at this the right way. I want to chain one. You remember how to chain? Yarn over, pull through. And that's it. So simple. So simple, so easy to forget. Don't forget that. Now, remember when I said when you turn your work, always turn it the right way? Always turn it the same way. Okay? So I always turn mine to the left. And why? It's just what I do. I turn it to the left. It's comfortable for me.